What you didn't say about me is I have 6 children and 19 grandchildren.
Oh my God.
And I'm a gay father. So there's a different story there. And never expected that to happen when I was having all those kids. But, life changes. So today, I'm not really going to speak totally on the spectrum because that would be a whole talk by itself. But I wanted to say that all of you have pieces of neurodiversity and of these superpowers, which I call. So, for example, I am sort of savant with finance and with directionality. Like I could be anywhere in the world. I could tell you what I was doing in that year and where I was, and I can draw a picture of it for you. You know, that's visual thinking. Temple Grandin is the one who wrote the book on that, thinking in pictures. So that's just about me. But so some of you are, when I talk about this, are going to be pointing at your husbands because this is mostly autism is profoundly male, but it also has female emanations. The problem is that as we get older, we get like more autistic. We get more rigid. We get more, sedate and change less, and that's a problem. That's a big problem. And we start to elicit the same kind of problems that someone on the spectrum would have. What happens is OFS, the onset of OFS, which is old fart syndrome, okay? And that's what you want to avoid the most, right? You don't want to be that guy at the wedding who they just walk away from. He's talking about whatever for 10 minutes and the kid's bored, right? So these are some of the cognitive strengths that we all have as adults, a lot of us, that are more typical on the spectrum. And if I just say this not as a political statement, but if you look at Elon Musk, he has the best and the worst qualities of a person on the spectrum. And that's not a political statement. You know, that's just reality. And if you look at his life, right? So one of the cognitive strengths is the ability to stay intensely focused on a topic. I call that Einstein syndrome. You know, where someone is able to really look at a topic. I can do that with art. I can do that with gardening and finance. It's very easy for me. It just feels like it's fun. It's not work. And mental concentration that goes with that. The problems can become analysis paralysis as you get older. And perseveration, you know, someone has a husband or wife here, you put your hand up if you want, they'll be in trouble, but who perseverates all the time about something and drives you crazy, right? And maybe they didn't do that when they were younger. Perfectionism is another area. Obsession with the news now. There's a lot of people with that who are getting emotionally disturbed, right? Rigidly following one's interests, ignoring others as you get older, you know, and only spend a small time on the problems because they have a whole lot of solutions. And rigidity, I said, intellectual overload, politics, excessive daydreaming. Okay, strong observational skills can drive your partner nuts. You know, little things you're pointing out all the time. And we're going to get to the bottom of this. It produces social isolation, rigid thought patterns, okay? So, and it can lead to tunnel vision, paranoia, and change resistance as we get older. These are for everyone. So if you're too reliable and too consistent, you become boring. And old people have it down, right? They're just systematized, and they have to do this after that and everything, which is good and bad. Okay? And I'll tell you why later. Too much honesty and directness is fault-finding, being combative. You can find that with older people, right? And having strong skills can lead to obsessions. And I'm going to get right to even your passions and enthusiasms can become workaholism and unrealistic expectations of others. So I'm putting that aside because I want to get to the solutions because I'm better at this. I've always been proactive, looking for, be an actor rather than a reactor in my life, and trying to find solutions because I've worked with kids and parents for 45 years with learning differences, emotional problems, and autism. And these parents are doctors, lawyers, and Indian chiefs who bring their kid when they're 18 or 20 and they're couch potato or they can't handle college or can't get a job. They bring us to us and pay us big bucks to find solutions. So I've created a curriculum that goes into every area: sensory, emotional, social, executive functioning, life skills, academics, careers. And so it's our 40th anniversary, but I've worked other places before that. So here's some of this. And if you want this information, you can get your email. I don't know if you can pass a piece of paper around or something. But I have, or just Google my name. There's tons of stuff on there. Okay. So prioritize your strategies for one thing, right? You can't do everything as you get older. You have to find which are the most important things. Do you want quality of life or just existence? Another decision you have to make. Because your quality of life is going to go down unless you do something about it. And I would say most of you being here this early in the morning, I'm probably preaching to the choir for the most part. Those are the people out there who drank too much last night or whatever, or ate too much and can't get out of bed. Those are the ones who probably need to hear this more than you, but it'll help you anyway. Reduce clutter. Go around your house and reduce clutter. I have to do it once a year. And I have a donation box. I try to put something in it every day and bring it to the, San Marcos. Finish tasks that are undone, that are unfinished. Make a list of things that aren't finished and finish those first so your mind isn't cluttered. The most important things are going to be your building social relationships as you get older. If you look at the research from the blue zones, those are the areas where people live unto 100. There's about 6 of them in the world. They drink and eat different foods, so it's the only thing that's consistent. I've looked at all the videos, read it all, is the social. They have a raison d'etre, right? Raison d'etre. I forgot to say bienvenue. And studying French. This is part of my for 500 days in a row right now. And I had 300 days before that. I'm studying Italian for 6 months, and I study Spanish every day. So this is part of my autism, right? I'm really fascinated with that. So the blue zones, social behavior. These old guys walk up the hill, have a cappuccino with their 3 guys and talk about the BS. And then they maybe spend some time with their grandparents or whatever, their parents, or their children or whatever. So that maintaining your social connections is the most important thing. And that would be also the relationships, building relationships. So I made a stretch for myself to find new friends every week and go out and invite someone for lunch or something. And I did that for the last few months very effectively because some of my older friends were copping out of me. So I said, okay, well, I'm going to just find some new ones. And that's to build my relationship skills. It doesn't come naturally to me. It's easy for you. My children were more social at 20 years old than I was. And, they knew how to do it just by osmosis. I have to learn those skills. A social group or a church group, community service. We get all of our students, no matter whether they're in college or not, they need to do community service. I met my wife, and I knew what job I wanted doing community service in college at a children's home. So if you don't dismiss community service, and internships are really important. You can do them still. Someone's at the door here, right? Sitting there, that's community service. Create a fresh sense of wonderment. And this is something that you get to do, you get to create this. So I'll give you an example of what we do. I have a Mexican husband who's much younger than me. He's a professor of fashion design. And we'll be in different rooms, and one of us will put In the Mood from Guy Lombardo, whatever it is, swing music on the computer. The other one gravitates, and we dance. We don't even know how to swing dance, but we do it. And we fall on the ground and we laugh for about 5 minutes, and we go back to what we're doing. So that's creating a sense of wonderment, and you need to like build these things into your life so you don't become stale and dried up. You know, that's not going to be me. Okay, so using personal resources to help oneself. If you have resources, use them. Hire someone that, you know, I let my gardener stay an extra evening just to do all the other things that he helped me with my art. I just had these pieces of glass I wanted glued onto this metal. And I had it all set up. I said, just glue these on there. He had a blast, and I just paid him $10 for 2 hours, right? So it just, you know, use your resources. Commitment to trying new activities, right? Reading other books and materials that you wouldn't normally read. I have a love novel coming out. I have an airplane disaster novel coming out. And I'm writing 2 screenplays. One of them is based on my grandmother getting, and her 4 sisters being sent by a cart to the U.S. by themselves during the famine, which I just want to correct the notion that there was an Irish famine. There was not an Irish famine. There was food. It was being shipped from the estates off the island. Cattle, wheat, everything. The only thing that failed was potatoes. And they let 2 million Irish die and 2 million immigrate. This is my political statement for the day. And they, what do you call it? The population of Ireland is still below what it was in 1870. So that tells you something there, because we don't call it a famine anymore. Use rational problem-solving skills. If you can't figure out what to do, poll the audience, right? I do this all the time because my social thinking skills are way off. I'm like a really immature old person. So I have to ask people, how do you do this? I asked 5 people, what do you think? How should I do this? What should I go to for that? And I wouldn't do it as a kid because I was too quiet. And I just did everything by myself, which was a mistake. But, okay. Force yourself to do tech, to be tech savvy. Use AI. How many people have used AI? Hey, pretty good. And DAL. How many people have used DAL? You know what that is? I'm a little bit ahead of you. It's part of AI, but I made the book cover for my love novel on DAL. I put in a paragraph describing the characters and what their relationship is. The picture was like, whoa, I could have painted the picture. It was like perfect. It was like just like I pictured these people. It was amazing.
Can you spell doll, please?
What's that?
Can you spell it, please?
D-A-L.
D-A-L?
Yeah.
D-I-L?
E-A-L.
D-A-L?
Okay, wellness strategies. Our emotional well-being is our responsibility. Okay, if you want people taking care of you the rest of your life, don't take care of yourself now. And you'll have, you know, nursing care 10 years before you need it. I'm serious. It's a wake-up call, but it's true. Learn how to self-soothe yourself. This is something we're not taught, especially men. How do you soothe yourself if you're, other than drinking or, you know, obliterating yourself, how are you going to soothe yourself as you get older? You know, massage your legs, massage your arms, things like that. Avoid extreme exhaustion, because it'll kill you. Now I'm going to put in my plug here for, I'm not a Western medicine person, and I can tell you I cured my heart problem, got off all 3 medications by using my Superpowers, which were to get a little EKG machine, a blood pressure cuff, and take all that information for 6 months, reduce myself on the meds, and go back to my doctor in the U.S., and he was pissed. You can't go off part of them. You need to go off all of them. So I said, okay, I'll off them. And I come back in 6 months. Came back 6 months. It was so much better even. And I said, now what? He said, you don't need any. There you go. But I noticed my AFib came back, so I take a little bit of blood thinner. And I talked to my GPs here and up there. do some cross-referencing. I use doctor up there, bring all the material down here to my doctor here, goes through it with me. I do both every year. Okay, avoiding healthy foods are really important. See this little dot here? It wasn't there before I left to go up north 3 weeks ago. I have to get rid of it now, just from eating the wrong foods. Try new foods. Have a sleep diet. If you have trouble sleeping, there are solutions. Some of the ones I found were eating cucumbers, some butter, cheese before you go to bed, having your meal a little later than you would normally so that you sleep better. Meditation, yoga. The next one is pretty good for us down here, being in the nature. Really being in nature. Nature lowers anxiety. Plants, I love my plants. Right now I have kale, Swiss chard, tomatoes, cucumbers, zucchini, all of it growing on top of my house. Doing very well because the insects can't get it. I have pomegranates, lemons, everything all over the place. I'm really into that. That's a special interest. I make my own fertilizer. If you want to know about that, ask me afterwards. But it works really good. And I have moringa in it too. I put moringa in it. Well, have pet. A lot of us have pets down here. It really helps you. You know, a lot of times you don't want to stay alive for your kids, but you want to stay alive for your pet. It's the truth. And people won't admit it. My kids say, "You like the dog better than us, Dad?" I said, "Yes, that's true. Sorry. But it's true. I like my pets better than my kids." Listen to music, dance. We talked about that a little bit. Avoiding alcohol and depressants. It's really important. Regular vitamin D. Even though we get all the sun down here, the way I research this stuff, I mean, I'm not the only one. You can get your own opinion. But if I want to decide on something, I just go through the whole web and I write down if it's the same on that website. And if 20 of them agree, then I do that. But if only 3 agree and 3 disagree, I don't do it. I try to find consensus and then before I start using anything. Let's see, we talked about, like right now you're doing something you shouldn't be doing. Do you know what it is? Every half hour, get your butt out of the chair. When you're watching a movie, put it on pause, walk around, touch your toes, do something. Believe me, it's longevity. That's really what it's about. I know what I was going to say before I didn't say. This is my view. It's not a medical advice, but I want to tell you that if you have if you have knee surgery or hip surgery, if you have a choice of not doing it, and because I've seen so many friends, what happens when you have, I forgot the word for it, when your system shuts down for like 6 weeks or 8 weeks, when you're, from your hip or your knee, you actually lose several years of life. I don't think people understand that. Once you start to shut the system down, it's sort of in automatic mode, and it's harder to get it back up to full functioning. So once you lose, stop riding a bike, you're probably not going to ride one again, unless it's this kind of stuff. That's not a good example, but the point is, you need to keep your system moving, and that is the most important thing. Stay involved in life in every way you can. And that's, it's even more important for someone like me on the spectrum, because the default mode of people on the spectrum is isolation. Because that's the way our brains are. We operate independently. I'm self-sufficient. I don't really need anything from anyone physically. I need emotionally and socially. And I didn't know that when I was growing up. I thought I could do it all on my own. But I can't, so I need people. Preserving muscle mass and bone mass. And that's, how many are vegetarians out there? Anyone? Well, just a couple of you. So hard when you're a vegetarian to do that because the muscle in animals is similar to your muscle mass. So eating beef obviously is easier to make muscle. So doing some upper body, a little bit of upper body, like even if you can only do 1 or 2 push-ups just start there. I do 25, and I do sit-ups, about 20 of those, and I walk a couple times a day and try to stretch out. If I'm in a building, I try to get along with it, just push on it. Just keep your muscle tone and your bones. You need to have that as you go along, especially with these streets, right? If you're not agile, if you're not able to do this, if you're not able to put your socks and shoes on standing up, I do, and tie my shoes standing up. I have a list of these stretches that I do, and I'm waiting for my 5-minute cue. All right? Good. I'm pretty fast today. I have a list of 40 stretches. I don't do them all every day, but some of them I've just gotten in the habit of doing. I started about 3 or 4 years ago. One of them is I eat my breakfast with my left hand. And I've done that for like 3 or 4 years. I use the other side of the brain. If I ever have a stroke, I use either hand to eat breakfast, right? And that's not what I'm thinking of having a stroke, but I do things like I told you, standing up to put my shoes and socks on. While I'm doing my languages. And that's the other thing, some kind of puzzles or languages or other things you're studying. Why do you want to get a degree right now if you're going to be dead in 10 years? But why do I learning Italian? Well, what happened is at Easter, my kids copped out on me. I'm going up to wet, cold Massachusetts, and they all took off with their kids. And my youngest one told me, thank God. So 2 weeks before Easter, I said, okay, the little mothers. I got on the computer and went to Venice for 2 weeks. Yeah, maybe you want to cancel Easter again next year. So, I had a blast. And I did 8 pieces of art in Venice. But what I'm saying is that these stretches really help you, okay? Like putting something in a donation box every day, or getting rid of something, decluttering your bedroom, or just one closet. Do a little bit every day. And what that's going to do for you is clear a space for growth. And guess what? McDonald's was founded I wish it wasn't, but it was founded in 1955. The guy was 55 years old. Trump became president at whatever age he is. So, and he didn't even have any political experience. So who say you can't write that novel or do what you want to do? There's groups here that support all of that. And so write your memoir. I was reading this morning somewhere about a guy, I know what it was. It was on YouTube. This guy was saying his grandfather left. He wrote a note every day for years about his children and his grandchildren in a book and left it for his family. And he was telling him it helped him so much with his, I want to leave time for questions and answers. So I'm going to try to finish up. And I wrote my memoir, but my kids won't read it because I have a traumatic past, and they don't want to know about it. They know about it, but they don't want to read it. But my grandson wanted to read it, who had an addiction problem and an emotional problem. He was U.S. ski champion, snowboarding champion, but he had multiple head injuries, little ones, so we didn't know he had it. And he's had real trouble. But he read my memoir and saw the history of my family and the trauma and all the other things that he experienced, and it helped him a lot. So I think I saved one life with it that I know of, and that's why I wrote it. I didn't write, it also was emotional. So here's the other thing, I'll finish up, and we can have questions or discussion, whatever. If you're holding any emotions in, that's really bad for you, okay? If you can't cry, you need to learn to cry. If you can't laugh, you need to learn to laugh. Because your life is going to end quicker if you can't do those things. That's right there. And just go to the research, And guess what? You're in freaking Mexico. There's no reason not to be happy unless you decide. And even if you don't have a ton of money, you don't need to. And so enjoy it and cry. I've had to learn to cry about missing my childhood. I missed it. My sisters and brothers had all kinds of mental, emotional, alcohol problems. And I was number 8 out of 9. And I was like in service to the Queen, you know, like a orderly in a mental hospital through my adolescence. So I didn't have a normal adolescence. So I missed that, and I had to mourn that, you know, really grieve that. But there's one thing, and I'll leave you with this. It's never too late to have a great childhood. And last year what I did is my Take Back My Childhood tour of New Zealand for a month. Rented a car. I booked every jet boat, every whitewater rafting, every zip line they had, all the way down, and did it for a month, and it was great. It relieved a lot of that 18-year-old who was stuck going to mental hospitals to see sisters and brothers on the weekend with your parents. You know, it changed it a lot. So we can stop there.
Thank you. Would you agree with a school of thought that thinks that people of our generation, well, let me back up, that there's a discussion that there's much more autism than there was 50, 60 years ago. Others say that no, it's only because it's more readily diagnosed. And then others say, but this is a part of personality. These are the people that we thought were kind of shy, kind of geekish. That was their personality before. And today there's more of an emphasis on identifying people on a medical spectrum.
Well,
so your thoughts on that,
you know,
please?
I've spoken to like huge audiences of Aspie moms and dads, and I think this is where I would say, you know, you're watching RFK with the controversy with his stupid comments, but he's on to some good things, but he's off the wall in other areas. Anyway, the way I look at it is it's a combination of immunizations, which we've always had, food additives. If you look at what was your diet, this is what I ask older people. When you were young, it was meat, potatoes, maybe some vegetables. Did you have a lot of prepared foods?
Yes.
No, from stores, like the pre-made crap? Or ate out at McDonald's and crap like that? You didn't do hardly any of it. Did you have soda every day of the week? You had it once in a while, right? You had ice cream once in a while. So food additives, change in diet, pollution, and all of it.
Pesticides.
Yes, pesticides on foods, all of it is, we're morphing into more of these people. And it's more diagnosed. But, I mean, because there's hot spots like New Jersey, which, you know, is a hot spot. And so, why is there more kids in New Jersey? Probably the pollution and all the other stuff that, you know. But that's really the best I can come up with. It. I have a granddaughter on the spectrum, you know, so, who just learning to speak at age 9, you know, but she's socially really good and everything, so.
Okay, any more questions?
Can you define a little further being on the spectrum? I'm sorry
Okay,
to
well,
ask
the
such a
spectrum would be like, you know, one of you guys has ADD in here, or 5 of you at least, right? Where you can't, and there's some women who have ADD symptoms, right? And some of you have a lot of Aspie qualities, but you're not diagnosed. Like, I have a friend who, you know, was savant in finance, working for JP Morgan, retired at 50. He just did analytics in a back room for them. And he had a farm, but he wasn't diagnosed till after he retired. You know, he was just, his brain was right on it, on like, you know, Einstein syndrome, right? Focused on the analytics to make them money. But he didn't have much of a social life or anything, couldn't hold a relationship. So the spectrum is everyone, really. But everyone, some of you have little qualities that you're really savant in, right? Like maybe what you did in your business, or some social ability that your partner doesn't have. You know, some people aren't just able to learn languages very easily. I struggle with them, but I like doing them.
Can you give us more examples of savant? I've always been fascinated by that.
Savant? Yeah. Well, there's a kid that they flew over Paris in a plane and then gave him a big board and he drew the whole city. Right? He drew it. There was another guy, and you know what synesthesia is? If you have sometimes it forms in a kid who has autism, but he has a high fever when he's small, and it sort of makes it hyperlink into this area of. So one guy who had it, he was able to. They put him in a room with 5 professors on computers, and he did pi times pi times pi times pi, all the numbers in a row for 5 hours, exactly right. And how do you get that kind of brain? So when I say I'm savant in real estate, but I don't know. I'm really bad at math, but I'm savant at math. Because I went into my accountant's office one time and I said, well, that's going to cost about this much. And he said, how do you know that? I said, well, I don't know. You know, and I was able to do my business without knowing math, really. So you don't have to know math to be successful. You don't have other people do it for you, right? So, but I think there's a lot more of this than you realize. I bet every one of you could tell me something you're really good at, you know, that someone else, most people are not good at. So everyone's on a little bit on the spectrum. And here's what's interesting is happening now, is they have kids that they're discovering who have been totally nonverbal till they're like 20 years old, and they find a way of connecting them onto the computer, and they have college-educated brains that have never said a word and can pass college almost immediately just by being able to express themselves, but they can't talk at all. They've never talked their whole life. Just by observing TV and everyone else, they learned it all. And so, how many people are like that out in the world now? Well, you're that way? Really?
I know, yeah.
Tell me what you do.
Well, it was just like when I was little, and I was in like 5 years old. I was in like a special.
microphone so we can hear what he's saying?
Yeah, you know, I have to tell you this, that I had an Aspie alert when I came in and you were getting coffee. I said, Aspie alert. I pegged you. I'm really good at doing that. But I pegged you. I didn't know what it was, but I said, when you were talking about your trip to Vietnam, Ho Chi Minh City?
I haven't applied high. I was about 5 years old. I was in like a special school. It's called Wilder, and back then I thought it was like a daycare center, and I didn't realize that. My mother told me that I was tested and was not tested, not even trainable. But fortunately, there was a gal that was training me a little bit, and she knew of a doctor at the university, and we got a hold of him, and then I got tested there, and I was tested with a real high IQ, and my mother just couldn't believe that that wasn't trainable.
Yeah, it's like the emotional and sensory stuff bombard your brain, and you look like you can't function. You get dysregulated very easily. It's a lot of people like this who can't handle standard classrooms. I couldn't stand it either. I wanted to get out. I got out of college a year early by taking, at my college you could take as much credit as you want for one tuition. So I took every art class they had in every Greek language class they had. Ended up with a BA in English and a minor in classical languages and art in 3 years. And I wasn't even trying to do that.
We have another question.
Go on.
Can you give us an idea of the various... Can you hear me now?
Yep. Better.
Can you give us an idea of the various factors that make up the syndrome?
The various what?
Factors. I've been teaching
Oh,
for almost 60
okay.
years, and I've seen a number of my
Well,
students...
just
who learn differently.
real short, yeah. Well, it's going to be social, so the social is the worst, right? Social, lack of social ability, social interaction, appropriate social interactions can be there. Cognitive rigidity, being able to perseveration on one area over and over. It can be executive functioning problems where you can't organize yourself at all. You can be the smartest one in the class and not turn the term paper in because you can't organize it. You could just Google that. You'll get it all come up for you. But it's like a snowflake. It's like snowflakes. You might have a little bit of this. So what we do in our curriculum, in our programs, is we do assessments, and then the parents are all paying like $100,000 for this 9-month-a-year thing, 10-month-a-year thing. So they're all over it. They know their stuff, and we say we create a menu for each child. So maybe you need more socialization too, of social thinking skills. He might not need any academic help, but he needs other help with clinical services. He might need 2 therapy sessions a week, or whatever. So we can do that in a menu and create a menu for each kid, and then it changes as it needs to.
Okay, well, unless there's another question, it's burning, it must be asked.
Okay.
There's
En
one.
français?
En français?
No, no, poquito.
I just missed how you got off your medications. What you put on your arm. I didn't hear this.
Say it again?
So,
Yes.
she wanted to know when you went off your medications, you were talking about you took your blood pressure and your...
There's a little EKG machine like this. You just put your 2 fingers on it, and then on your cell phone is the app, and it tells you what your EKG is.
Okay.
And then the blood pressure cuff tells you your blood pressure, and then you take your heartbeat and track it all. And I still do it. I only do it like once a month. And you can do this for yourself. And like, let's say that you're having trouble with high blood pressure. Go online, find the foods that you can eat to lower your blood pressure, eat them, keep track of your blood pressure, and watch it, and do a little bit of exercise, and watch it go down. You don't need the freaking medication that's going to give you the side effects that they say that it doesn't.
Yeah.
And my brother died. My brother was on the spectrum. He died from too many doctors giving him medication at one time. And they say, well, there's no side effects. They don't, whatever. But they did. They made him depressed enough that he gave up. And so I have to say, be very careful with Western medicine. You can probably find ways, foods and supplements they think are voodoo, doctors, But I tell you, if you have a sexual problem, you have some ginger and some other stuff, and you're going to be active, even if just with yourself. But the point is, there are solutions out there. You don't have to go take Viagra or crap like that,
Thank you. Thank you.
This is where my social thinking goes off the rails.
Hold on.
I've been for about an hour, and I didn't do the political thing yet.
It's all good, Dr. McMahon. And I want to tell you this. My dog takes Viagra, so there you go. Has to keep
I don't even want to know about that.
No, it's to keep him from throwing up. Actually, there's another use for it, is all I'm saying. It keeps him from regurgitating his food.
Oh, I never
So,
heard that.
yeah. So anyway, it was great. Let's give him a big hand.
It's going to put that in my brain for the rest of the day.